Hello guys, my name is Zhensky. Since I started to run my YouTube channel, I have been getting questions from other developers who want to start their career as Angular developer. And the most popular questions I'm getting is what I have to know in order to be a good Angular developer and to get this job. Well, since I was involved in the recruiting process on my previous job and I was interviewing people from my ex-team, I found myself that I have some specific set of questions which I'm asking every interview, and in this video I will share some of them. Of course, I will give you some brief answers, but in order to be perfectly prepared for the interview, you have to do some homework. The point of this video is just to give you some hints and show you direction. So this is my top 5 interview questions which in my personal opinion should be answered by any good Angular developer. Let's get started. And the question number 1 is name all advantages and disadvantages which you know in Angular. I like to ask this question at the very beginning of every interview because it perfectly shows how broad knowledge has candidate and how many features in Angular does he or she use. Here you actually can mention everything you like or don't like in Angular, and the more the better. But if I was asked about this question, my answer would be the next. Advantages: first-class TypeScript support, powerful CLI, dependency injection, and all-in solution. Means that it's fully-fledged framework which comes with its own routing, animations, form, and so on and so on. Disadvantages. Talking about disadvantages, I would first of all highlight the complexity. Comparing to other frameworks like React or Vue, besides some framework-specific features, you have to learn also TypeScript, which takes some time, and also RxJs library. And the last one is even more challenging, and without solid knowledge in RxJs, trust me, your code will turn into unmaintainable mess very soon. Second disadvantage, I would say it's a bundle size, and yes, that's true. Angular is quite thick, but there are some ways how to decrease this bundle size, especially initial bundle size, and I will mention about this later. And also Angular team does very good job towards the optimization, and usually it gets better with every major release. And the last thing I would like to mention is community size. And if comparing to React or Vue community, Angular community is smaller, but it is not small. I mean that you have no any problems with third-party libraries or answers at the Stack Overflow. Everything is completely perfect there, but it's just smaller than React community. That's it. The second question. Change detection. What is this and how it works? So what is change detection? Well, change detection, this is a mechanism in Angular which cares about viewer rendering in case if data was changed. It is being triggered when one of the next events happen. So when fired JavaScript event like click, mouse enter, mouse move, and so on. Then when Ajax call was performed, and the last thing when some set interval or set timeout was ticked. Once it happens, Angular starts traversing the tree of components, and this traversing is quite heavy operation, and it can be cause of the performance issues. And one of the way of how to optimize it is ng on push strategy. By setting up on push change detection strategy, you are telling Angular to perform change detection only in next cases. If input value has been changed, if was fired template event inside component or its descendants, like as example you have the button, it has a click handler, and when this function handler was executed, Angular will trigger change detection run. And the third case when change detection was triggered manually. Sometimes developers are saying that a sync pipe triggers change detection as well, but it's not actually true. The only one thing which does a sync pipe, it subscribes, of course, to stream or promise. Then once some value, a new value arrives, it does only mark for check, but it doesn't trigger change detection run. And of course, it unsubscribes from the stream in case if component has been destroyed. Also, you may ask about ngzone and what it is. And ngzone, it is a library which utilizes Angular in order to track this event, which I mentioned at the very beginning, these fired events, Ajax call, and intervals with timeouts. And when it happens, it notifies Angular in order to trigger the change detection run. That's it, what it does. And the third question is dependency injection and how it works. Dependency injection is an application design pattern which has its own implementation in Angular. And the main idea of this pattern is when a class delegates a creation and providing some external dependencies to some external resource. Then it worth to mention that there are two types of injectors. Module injector, which can be configured inside ng module and injectable annotations. And there is element injector, which is being created for every DOM element and can be configured inside the component or directive annotation. And inside this directive or component annotation, you have this provider's property. This is the array where you provide some services, whatever. And these two type of injectors, they have its own hierarchy. Then you could be asked about how Angular resolves these dependencies. And you could answer like this. So when component declares some dependency, Angular, first of all, tries to resolve it in its own element injector of these components, which declares this dependency. If there is no provider for it, Angular asks a parent element injector, and then it continues to go up until it finds it. If Angular cannot find, it goes back to the same place where it started and tries to resolve it already in module injector hierarchy. So it also asks the parent one. If parent doesn't have, it goes up. And if it cannot resolve even in the module injector hierarchy, you will get most probably the error like null injector, whatever. I don't remember exactly right now. But if it finds, it will provide you resolved dependency as you requested. Then you most probably will be asked about resolution modifiers, which are optional, self, skip self, and what else? Host. Yeah, as far as I remember, there's 4 of them. And to completely cover this part, you may ask about class providers, which are use class, use existing, use factory, and use value. But I'm not going to stop in details with these topics. You have to, this will be your homework, so repeat this in Angular docs. Links to these topics I will leave in video description. And fourth question, which you cannot avoid at all during the Angular interview, this is RxJs. So what is RxJs? RxJs, this is the library which implements concept of reactive programming, and this library is heavily used in Angular application. You are not able to avoid using RxJs in the Angular application, so you must understand at least some key concepts of this. The most popular question about this topic is what the difference between observables and streams comparing to promises. And there are some of them. The first one is observables are lazy. So you have to call subscribe method in order to execute it when promise is being executed immediately. And observable are cancelable and promises are not. Then observable can be synchronous, also asynchronous, and promise it's always async. And also observable can emit multiple values, promise can emit only one value. Then observable has different operators to transform the data, and observable has only then and catch. And finally, methods, right? And I think I forgot nothing. If I forgot, please write me in the comments if I forgot to mention some difference, but this is the key difference between them. Also, I'm asking about which operators has candidate used and for which exactly use case. And I really pay attention if candidate names such operator like switch map, flat map, concat map, and some combined latest probably, because it is really bad sign if he or she doesn't know it. It means that later on you can see in your code base something like subscribe, inside subscribed, inside subscribed, and so on. Then you may encounter the question about what is subject in RxJS and what kind of subject do you know. So there are subject, just regular subject, then behavior subject, async subject, and which else? Replay subject. And I hope that's it. If I forgot something, please correct me in the comment section. Then it makes sense also to ask about memory leaks and how to prevent it. And you can say that you have to kill every subscription if you destroy some particular component. And then of course, you can mention about a sync pipe and say that a sync pipe we have to use as much as we can because it cares about unsubscription as well. So very handy. And the last but not least, it is application optimization. Here I'm asking to name all optimization techniques, doesn't matter if it's runtimes, performance, bundle size optimization, whatever. Everything you know, and the more the better. And there I would mention definitely the AOT compilation, which means that application will be compiled during the build time rather than in runtime, which means that app doesn't know to include a compiler into the bundle, which decreases actually the bundle size in the end. Since Angular 9, if I remember right, it is enabled by default, but it's still worth to know about it. Then you can also decrease your bundle size by using lazy loading and load some parts on demand. And if you mention about also differentiation loading, that would be also a big plus. Then you can decrease your bundle size if you will be using provided in root as example feature in this injectable annotation, and as a value you can provide the object and there is a provided in property, and if you define this, it makes your service tree shakeable, and if you have some unused services, they will not be included into the end bundle. By the way, I mentioned tree shaking. What is tree shaking? Talking about some runtimes performance, the first thing which comes to my mind is enabling the on push change detection strategy, which I mentioned before in the change detection section. And then in some cases, track by function can help you to optimize your performance. And yeah, this function is being used inside the ng for loop. Then also try to avoid the function calls inside the template and use pure pipes instead. And the benefit which has these pure pipes is that it triggers the data transformation or recalculation only in case if input has been changed, when function will be executed every time change detection runs. So if you have some complex transformation, calculation, whatever, it makes sense to use the pure pipe because it will save you a lot of performance. Then you can mention also some, I know, common techniques like graphic optimization. Yeah, optimize your images on your web page, or using, I don't know, source set for attribute for image, when you can provide as example for retina screens will be loaded, I know, 2-3 times bigger image in order to be sharp on the retina screens, or if it's a regular screen, it will be loaded image with the lower resolution, so it means the lower size of this application, and it will also allow your application to be more responsible and faster. Then also you can mention about CDN to quickly deliver your assets to user. Definitely it's not everything, for sure I forgot something, but there are really myriad of ways how you can decrease bundle sizes, improve your performance. If I forgot something, please welcome to comment section. It would be interesting for me to know another maybe optimization techniques, and it would be useful for community as well. So if you know something, please welcome. And here is some bonus question, which is not actually technical, but it's still very important. And this question is about how are you staying up to date? How do you find out about new features of Angular, or I know TypeScript, or whole this ecosystem? And here you can mention literally any blog, I don't know, GitHub, Twitter, or Medium, or YouTube channel. Definitely my YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it, and it definitely worth to subscribe right now, because I'm posting the advanced Angular topics, and they would be really useful for you, not only before the interview, but also it would be valuable for you for your daily job as well, once you successfully pass the interview. And I wait for your subscription. But what the purpose of this question? Why I'm asking this? Well, in my opinion, if candidate doesn't follow what happens in community, it means he just doesn't learn things. He's not interested in everything what happens in this area. And when you are not involved in this, you cannot be just successful developer without interest in this area where are you working right now. And also the one advice from me would be, it's just relax. Relax and try to answer the questions you confident. Do not try to be smarter than you really are. Do not afraid to say that you don't know something. It's completely fine. It is way more better rather than bullshitting about the things which you learned somewhere in Medium at the night just before the interview. Because sometimes happens when a candidate gives an answer about optimization as example, and he or she says that, oh, all right, I would use ngZone, and some piece of code I would run outside of Angular. And when I'm asking, okay, what is this then, ngZone, what kind of problem are you trying to solve? And candidate says like, oh, ngZone, it's like kind of ng and zone, so it's some Angular zone, which is definitely not the answer you expect to get from the candidate, and it shows that he actually doesn't understand what he's talking about. But it would be way more nicer when if you don't know, you just say, yeah, I don't know. That's fine. We are all people. We cannot know everything. But again, this is how I thinking. This is my personal opinion. Someone else can consider it like kind of benefit. So it means that at least the candidate heard about this thing. So here you will never know. Okay, that was it for today. I hope I gave you some hints what you could prepare for your interview. And of course, it is not all the question you may be asked, but this is, in my opinion, the core questions which I encounter during every interview when I am interviewing, when I am being interviewed. And in my opinion, this is the core which every good Angular developer should know. And it also would be great if you share in the comment section your favorite interview questions, so we could collect some knowledge base, and maybe based on this question, I could create the second part of this video if you are interested in such kind of videos. So I think it would be interesting, not also for me, but also for community. And if you're watching this video not just for fun or because Angular for whatever reason recommended this video for you and you really have some interview in next days, I wish you a successful interview. Don't panic, everything will be cool. You will definitely manage it. I also wish you a productive week, have fun, and see you in the future.